How would you test a database? It may be a question which you never have received in any interviews, and it may even be something which you never did. So if I were to have this asked by somebody in an interview, I would go step by step. So let's add some notes. The first thing which I would test is I would test the database structure. So what do I mean by this? Well, first, I would want to set up the database on a separate environment, and I would first check the scripts that create the database. After that, I would check if I have all the tables. Then I would go and check if the tables have the mentioned columns, and if the columns match the definition that are in the specifications or in the scripts. So what do I mean by that? Well, I have here the customer table. I have customer ID, and the customer ID seems to be an integer. Here we have a phone column of which is n varchar, which is basically a set of characters, and has a maximum length of 20 characters and can be null. So coming back to the database structure, so in there I would include tables, or yes, tables, columns, column definition with the type, with, or actually, yeah, the type, the length, and if it can be null or not. So that this would be the first part. So now I would know that the database can be set up, that the scripts used to set up the database are providing the expected result. After that, I would check the connection between the tables. So as you can see from this diagram, it seems that the customer and the order table are connected via the customer ID. You have primary key here and a foreign key here. Let's center this a bit. Same goes for the supplier. You have a supplier table, which is connected to the product table via the supplier ID, which is a primary key in one table and a foreign key in another table. So once we have this, I would go to test store procedures. So what are store procedures? So let's say you have you want to know what or how many orders a specific customer made. So for that, of course, you can write a query which checks the customer ID in the order table and counts them. But wouldn't it be easier if you just have, so you have a store procedure called customer orders, and you just give it the customer ID, and it gives you the number of orders back. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Oops. Yeah. So these are store procedures. There are a couple of commands that help you get a quick result for let's say a more complex query. Or you can also think of them as repetitive actions for which you created a function. It's like in programming. So at this point, I would be kind of satisfied with the structure. So I know about the table, I know about the stored procedures. The next thing that I would do is test the database from a non-functional point of view, meaning stress and load testing. If we would have in this order, let's say we would have another column called order invoice, and this would be something like a blob. So you would basically add the invoice in the application. You can try, or for the load and stress testing, you would do a lot of requests in the application, which write constantly to the database, and you would also use bigger and bigger and bigger order invoices. What do you want to achieve? Well, you want to make sure that even in conditions where the database gets a lot of hits, so when the application is writing and reading and updating entries, you still get a response in, let's say, a normal interval. What do I mean by normal? Well, consider this. If you are in an application where you want to make a booking, yeah? Or if you want to order something, it's Black Friday, you want to order something. And because there are a lot of users in the system, when you want to enter your order details and you send your order, the application is so slow that your order cannot be done because, well, by the time the application came to your order, there were no more items in stock. Okay, so we did the database structure, stored procedures, non-functional, and last and definitely not least, I would mix them a little bit. So what do I mean by mix them? I would go into do a mix, which means perform an action, let's say ordering of items in the application, and then check the items in the database. So if you are a new customer, and for a new customer, you would need not just the customer name, but you would also need I don't know, customer email, so let's say customer email. Since it doesn't want to let me, no problem. So let's think it like this. So you would have an email, you have a phone number, you have an address, you have a billing address, secondary, third billing address, I don't know. So imagine you create your customer in the actual application, but instead of seeing in the customer table your customer name, you see your phone number. You might laugh at this point. Well, it is possible. In case the mapping was not done correctly, this is possible. So there you have it. This would be the test that I would perform, and which are kind of generic for all of the cases where somebody would ask me, what is or what would you test in a database? Thank you for watching this video, and as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one, and bye-bye.